Hello and welcome to another transfer special here on the Scottish SunSport YouTube channel. It is of course Wednesday today, the day after Rangers' big night in Europe. So before we get into the transfers, David Friel, you were watching that last night. You did the player ratings for the paper last night, impressed quite a lot of them. What do you make of Rangers last night, just generally? Really good, wasn't it? I
thought it was outstanding. In terms of a European performance, you get the result first and foremost, you keep a clean sheet at home, but also to get the 3 goals and just kind of Rangers' general all-round attacking play. They just looked far sharper than they did against Motherwell at the weekend. I thought the 2 wide players were excellent. Both of them were excellent. Gassama obviously gets his 2 goals. Antman, I mean, for such a whirlwind couple of days for him to come in and play like he did. And Russell Martin was obviously talking about him, taking on a bit of information at half-time just to make a couple of little tweaks. I thought he was excellent. I thought he really bodes well for him going forward. And then Friel Dessers, he got the nod ahead of Danilo. We spoke here a couple of weeks ago about Danilo, Jonathon, and how this was his time to show that he's good enough. He's not taking that chance, he just hasn't. So Friel Dessers is still at the club. Who knows what will happen towards the end of the transfer window, but right now he's Rangers' best striker. And I thought he led the line really, really well, grabbed the penalty. I always like to see strikers grab the ball at penalties and finish the way he did. And in general, lovely little pass for Gassama's first goal as well. And as I said, I think every single part of the Rangers team functioned really well. And to me, they're through already. I don't see Pilsen causing Rangers enough problems. To be perfectly honest with you, barring a couple of little sniffs at goal last night, I thought they were really poor. But Rangers made them poor. You know, Rangers played so well, dominated the game, and yeah, great job done by Russell Martin and these players.
6 new signings started that game. Still not even seen Asgard, not seen Mikey Mo, not seen any Fernandes competitively yet. Yeah. Russell Martin probably rightly saying, certainly from his point of view after the game, you know, this is what it should look like and is going to look like when it gets into the flow. Do you think he's probably won himself more time and some more, kind of get a lot more of those unsure fans maybe willing to give him more of a chance after that last night?
Yeah, because I think you could, and I don't mean to say that you couldn't see what he was trying to do before last night, but I think the Panathinaikos result over 2 legs was really, really good. There was clearly concerns over how Rangers played at times, especially defensively, and just how much they gave the ball away. And look, I think we'll all admit that if Panathinaikos had been a bit sharper in front of goal, it could have been a different tie. Motherwell was a setback for Russell Martin just at the start of the season, doesn't want to start with drop points, and also some of the players. And also, that then leads to questions over style. Are Rangers taking too many chances? Is it just passing for the sake of passing sake? So I think last night was a step forward for his way of showing the Rangers fans, this is what I want. My team doesn't look like it for part. It'll look this way. And as you said, there's still some more players to come in as well. I just felt there was a better balance to the Rangers team last night. You can talk about personnel, you can talk about positional. I just felt they kind of get after Pilsen really, really well. And I think when you've got such pace in the wide areas, then you're always going to be a danger to teams. And you can see that Victoria Pilsen pretty early on were pretty scared of Gassama running at them, of Antman running at them. And I think it all just kind of came together in a really good team performance.
Now let's get into the transfers then. We've got a couple of new names to mention in a moment, but let's start with the man who Russell Martin gave the captain's armband to for the first time last night, John Souttar. Player's been mentioning these before when he was linked with a move to Turkey earlier in the window. Nothing's materialised there yet. We know that interest was true. 1 year left in his deal. Yeah. He spoke after the game last night, kind of saying, in more words, that it's stalled a little bit. There haven't been conversations. What do you see happening here?
I see a bit of work to be done, and I think Rangers, there's no doubt Russell Martin would like to keep John Souttar. He's basically made that clear in not so many words. He has kind of almost deferred it a bit to Kevin Thelwell and the rest of the Rangers hierarchy, saying it's up to them to deal with contracts, but they know what I think of John, which is basically code for him saying he'd like to keep him. But John Souttar's also at the stage of his career, like Greg Taylor, his Scotland pal, was at Celtic at the start of last season and all the way into it, where this is going to be maybe the biggest deal of his career. He is coming into his prime, if you want to talk at that, but he might not have those 2-3 deals down the line to get. I'm sure he's well paid at Rangers, but I don't really blame John Souttar, especially if he's been made captain for a massive Champions League night. I wouldn't blame John Souttar for looking at a certain level of contract. I think it must come down to the fact that do Rangers want to pay that? Do they want to sanction that? Do they feel John Souttar is the man for Russell Martin to build his defence around? Or do they feel, well, you know, maybe we don't want to go that high in terms of wages. Now, I'm not saying John Souttar's asking for astronomical amounts, but I think he's probably established enough. He's a Scotland regular. He was Rangers captain for such a big game where he's entitled to the going rate. So I thought his language and the way he spoke was quite interesting. You know, I love it here, but nothing's really happened. So, look, I would imagine once Rangers get the transfer window out the way and there's still clearly a bit of work to do, then you would imagine they will get down to sit with John Souttar and say, look, this is what we're thinking, what you're thinking, and take it from there. Look, I don't really see any reason for John Souttar to leave Rangers. You know, as I said, Russell Martin clearly likes him. He's in a good place. I think it would help his Scotland credential if he's playing every week for Rangers. And if you're being told, John Souttar's told you could be the captain next season, of course he'd want to stay. But it looks as if there's a wee bit of work to be done, and that's coming from the horse's mouth, the player himself.
From a Rangers point of view, if this does continue to stall, they're not really getting anywhere. An offer, maybe I think it was around 1.1 million was being discussed for. If that offer, 1 million, 1.5 million comes in, where would you sit on the side of the fence what Rangers should do in that scenario? Would you take that now, or is it worth risking him, losing him for free next summer because he's such an important player?
Yeah, exactly. I think you always need to balance that up with just because a player, you sometimes do make a decision and say, well, look, if it's entirely their prerogative to run down their contract, if that's what they want to do, or if they want to take their time, Connor Goldson to happen with him. Because if there's not really huge value out there, you know, if someone comes in with a multi-million-pound offer for John Souttar, then of course that changes things. But right now, if I was Rangers, I wouldn't be in a rush to, if they don't think he's signing a new contract, I wouldn't be in a rush to cash in. What is the, you know, you're better off getting another good season out of John Souttar to help with the transition period under Russell Martin. Clearly Russell Martin wants him, than you are just taking the first offer. I don't think that will happen. I think John Souttar will now see out the season with Rangers. Whether he'll sign a new contract or not, I genuinely am not sure. But no, I wouldn't imagine Rangers being in a rush to lose him just now.
Never fall in love with a lone player, that's what they always say. Unfortunately for Rangers fans, they seem to do it every year at the moment, and 4 games into the season with Nasser Jigger, a man alongside John Souttar, it looks like it could be happening again. Obviously he's there, straight loan, no option to buy. He was a £10 million player and Wolves signed him in January. That long-term contract there, he's still got 5 years left in his deal as it stands just now. Is there any hope of Rangers getting this guy permanently at all, do you think?
I would doubt it, but listen, it's very early days, and I'm the same as you. I've been hugely impressed with him. He's just a kind of central defender that never really seems to get into bother. Look, there will be things he needs to brush up on, and Russell Martin also kind of indicated that he found the whole environment against Motherwell and everything that was going on in that game, such a kind of small stadium with crowd right on top of you and players, it was a fast-paced game. That will take a bit of getting used to. And I think that's why Wolves have sent him up here, just to become a bit more robust than he maybe was, because, don't get me wrong, he was at Red Star Belgrade before, but I think if you're going to play at a very high level in England, then you need to be able to go every 3 days. You need to be able to deal with different situations, different challenges that British football will throw up. So I think it all bodes very, very well. He's clearly here for a reason. There will be things, whether it's distribution, whether it's concentration, for him to brush up on. But to me, as I said, he never gets himself into trouble. He's got the pace as well to recover, and he's keeping things as simple. Now, he's been asked to play a certain way, and listen, don't get me wrong, it's Panathinaikos away, I think it was, he got himself in a bit of Franco James Tavernier, but I think overall, if you want to judge it in the 4 games he's played, the 4 competitive games, I think he's been excellent. I don't think he's, he doesn't look as if he's a new player. He looks as if he's been playing with John Souttar for years, and it looks really shrewd business for Rangers, because there was a reason why Wolves spent £10 million on him. And just because a player isn't starting every week in English Premier League doesn't mean to say there are major flaws. He's up against really, Wolves are a good team, and he's up major competition for a place there. So I think the loan is great for everybody's business. I would be surprised if it comes in the season, especially if he keeps playing the way he is, whether, I don't think his fee will be any less than 10 million, put it that way. But look, as we spoke about last week, Rangers need to continue in 2 tracks in terms of this transfer window. Short term, get the best team they can, and look at the long term as well. But I think in Nasser Jigger, they've got a really good player.
Well, that takes us on to one of the new names that I promised were coming. This is one that's broken the last few hours. Come out of Spain, reports linking Rangers with a player called Nobel Mendy. Now, he's a 6'2", 20-year-old centre-back who can also play at left-back for Real Betis. He had looked like he was going to go to PSV, but it looks like sort of the rules in the Netherlands regarding work permits mean he can't go there. And that's now off the table. Rayo Vallecano also interested in him. a player that's not too much to go on because he's actually not played that many first team games. But certainly looking at it, it's kind of that profile again you'd maybe expect Rangers to be going after, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, I mean, you said left centre back and left back he can play. I think that has to be an area that Rangers are still looking at. Obviously, Van Yilmaz is still at the club, but you would imagine he'll go. Yefty was given a chance last night, and I think that was the right decision, because whether you're playing Tavernier or Max Aarons at right back, you need balance there. It just wasn't working, playing Aarons out there. But Rangers are quite light in terms of options there, and I think that's why Aarons had started playing there at the start of the season. And I think you would also look at the centre-back position and still say Rangers are a bit light too, because you've got Sutters, you've got Jigger, you have Manny Fernandes, who hasn't been seen yet competitively, clearly one for the future but will play a certain amount of games. So I still think there's scope for a left-back and a centre-half. However, I do wonder where you get one that can do both. We've seen that a million times over the years, just someone that you can maybe come in and develop, can play different positions. But it's no surprise that Rangers are looking at that type in that position.
Well, Kasimu Atara, the Monaco left back, another 20-year-old, was a name that emerged after we'd recorded last week's show. Do you think, therefore, kind of as we look at it now, Rangers have got their wingers in, they've covered other bases? Is left back, in your opinion, is that now probably the priority to fix as far as Rangers go?
It also depends on what Russell Martin's view is of Yefty. Now, he had left him out early in the season, said there were certain things that he wanted him to get better at, but he threw him in against Pilsen last night. Thought he did fine. There was a couple of wayward passes, but he'd been asked to play a different way. He was coming in field a lot more. Defensively, didn't really have much to trouble him at all. Actually quite like Yefty. I think he is one who, generally there's a lot of work needing done, but he's a good size, he's got decent pace and everything like that. He can get stuck in. I do think there's a player there, but I just wonder if Rangers are looking, as I said, maybe it will be one that can play left centre half and left back, but I think if you ask Russell Martin for his dream into the transfer window, he would probably be getting a first choice stick on left back.
Now let's move to players already at the club. Player who didn't start last night raised a few eyebrows. Nico Raskin, obviously benched last night, not dropped because Russell Martin doesn't like the word dropped. So very interesting. Rangers key man last season. You can maybe read between the lines the fact he wasn't picked. He might have been one of the players that he was speaking about on Saturday after the game. Fans were desperate for him to stay in the summer, but the fact was he didn't play last night and he wasn't missed at all during that sort of first period of the game when Rangers were dominating it. So where do you look at Raskin now? So he was a player we mentioned these shows a lot earlier in the window. It's kind of gone away for a while. But does this bring a bit more focus onto it? Do you think there's still a chance he could end up leaving this window?
Yeah, 100%. I just wonder whether this is the beginning of the end for him at Rangers. And I don't mean that, and Russell Martin again was asked, what does this mean for the future of Nico Raskin, and James Tavernier said, there's a tendency in Scotland to kind of make one thing a big thing. But if you're Nico Raskin and you're looking at the Belgian squad and you're used to being the main man in that Rangers midfield, central midfield, you're playing your position, then fine, everything's good. But it's clear that in the setup Russell Martin wants, there's going to be one sort of kind of central midfielder with two advanced, call it two number 8s if you want to call it that. Last night it was Lyle Cameron and Mohamed Diamande with Joe Rothwell sitting. Now Joe Rothwell has been signed by Russell Martin to be his main man. That's clear. He's going to play that position, that sort of midfield pivot if you want to call it, which means Nico Raskin has been shifted out to the left a little bit, clearly hasn't suited him. And look, I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to know that Russell Martin was very happy with him at Fir Park the other night, considering they left him out of the team. And as you say, Lyle Cameron came in and I thought Rangers as a balance.
Great game he had. Played
really well, but I would imagine going forward that the man who's been earmarked for that number 8 role just off the left is Taylor Asgard. So if you put everything together, I'm not sure that Nico Raskin becomes an automatic starter for Rangers. And A, I don't think he would really be happy with that or tolerate that. And B, he's a big asset for Rangers still. This is a guy who has been pretty prominent with the Belgian squad the last couple of international windows. He's played games, he's impressed, he's probably got a decent value on him, he's at a good age as well. 2 years left in his deal. I think it's one that if Rangers do get an acceptable bid, and remember Russell Martin said last weekend the only bid they've had for anybody was for Cyril Dessers, but I wonder if Rangers get a decent bid, I don't think they'll stand in his way. And I just wonder, if you look at it, where he fits into this new look midfield. I think Joe Rothwell will be the main man, holding it all together, and then I think everybody else is up for grabs. But I'm not sure that Nico Raskin would want to be the player that kind of plays second fiddle almost.
Do you think the fact he's been left out of the team perhaps gives any interested teams a chance to come in and go, oh, we're going to actually offer you a bit less than we might have done before? Because,
I'll be honest,
you know, he's gone from the main man, now you're not picking him, so we'll take him for this amount instead of that amount.
Yeah, and it's very odd when you have someone who, if he still did the valuations in the Rangers squad, I dare say that Nico Raskin would probably be top. And look, maybe he will just say, look, no, I want to fight for my place, I'll do this, I'll do that. But yeah, leaving him out people will look and say, well, he's not actually getting a game for you now. But I think there's obviously reasons for that, and I still think Nico Raskin's a very good player. I think Rangers are better off with Nico Raskin in the squad. I just don't think he's going to be a squad player. I think he's now at a level internationally, and even at Rangers last season, he was Rangers' best player last season, I would say, where he wants to be the main man. And if he's not going to be the main man, does he stick around? I'm not so sure he does.
Now, last week we spoke a lot about wingers. We spoke about 3 in particular. You said you wouldn't be surprised if Rangers signed all 3. Mm-hmm. A week later, they've already signed 2 of them, so 1 to go.
Where is Raksaki?
Where is Raksaki? That's a big question. But I think a question a lot of Rangers fans might still be asking is, where's Mikey Moore? Because he's been in the door. Yeah. He's been in the door for a week.
Yeah.
He did travel to Motherwell, but he's still not been able to play.
Yeah.
When are we going to see him?
I don't know. I mean, it's a very, very odd situation. I know it's to do with his age and everything and getting the clearance, but it clearly wasn't coming in time for the Pilsen game, so you can understand why Russell Martin just kind of left him out of the squad. I would imagine he'll make his debut against Dundee this weekend. I'd be amazed if there's more of a hold-up.
It'd be more than a week. It would seem crazy.
It seems crazy, but I think that will happen. And look, it's another exciting player, and I still think Rangers will sign another winger as well. I just look at the way Russell Martin wants to play, what he's going to ask of these wingers. If you look at the shift that Gassama and Antman put in, it's the modern way. Give us 60, 65 minutes, then we'll change. And I also think it's when Rangers are going to have so many games. So you look at the domestic campaign, 2 cups, and guaranteed minimum Europa League league phase, which is another 8 games. Also hoping to go deeper into that competition. Rangers could play 60 games this season. It's a big ask to go to Antman and Gassama. I need you to go every 3 days, 90 minutes all the time. So I think he wants competition. I think Mikey Moor's one. He's not coming up here to sit on the bench either. He'll be coming up thinking I can get into that team too. But that's what every manager wants. That's on top of competition. I still think they'll go for Raksaki, and I think that he's, as we spoke about earlier, squad building. There's still certain places he wants to fill, and I still think he'll try and sign a striker. But he's done quite a lot of work in quite a short space of time. Spent a bit of cash. Okay, there's going to be some going out. I would imagine to offset that. But I think it all bodes for. I think you can see now the kind of exciting style of play Russell Martin wants. Look, there will be bumps in the road, but he's got 2 good wingers just now, minimum, and then I think there'll be another 2 to come.
Oscar Cortez, forgotten man, £4 million, still isn't getting a look in. One man who did get on last night was Finlay Curtis. So he started first couple of games, then he's kind of fallen out as those new recruits have come in and established themselves. Where do you think all this leaves Finlay Curtis? Do you think he will be kept on kind of around the periphery as maybe that 4th or 5th option, someone else comes in? Or does he really need to go out on loan this season, do you think? Is that the best thing for him?
It would probably, given how he started the season, that would might be, and I don't mean a blow for him if he was sent on loan. It's just what's best for his development. It might end up depend if Rangers can get this other winger. Oscar Cortez, I don't know, I just don't see him really making it at Rangers, but there was obviously an obligation to buy. Rangers had to sanction it. I think he's got a good enough pedigree that he could probably get a loan somewhere. I just don't really see him being part of the plans. Finlay Curtis, I think, is a totally different one, because I think part of Russell Martin's remit is obviously to develop young players, and Finlay Curtis has been the shining light in terms of that so far this season. So I think it would be, if he does go out on loan, I think it would be late in the window, but I think Russell Martin right now would probably be minded to keep him around, but it could depend on outgoings in terms of Cortez and incomings as well, in terms of this other one winger, which we think is going to be Raksaki.
Another player who has been starting until last night was Kieran Dowell, who played the first 3 games in that sort of advanced wide role, which clearly not his favourite position. I think both you and Roger Hannon here have both said over the weeks that even though he'd clearly worked his way back in at that time, he'd been starting the games that come the end of this sort of period transfer window, you'd have both been very surprised he was still playing games. 4 games in, he's already on the subs bench. Is this now the beginning of the end of Kieran Dowell? Do you still expect him to move on this summer?
To me, it just looked like a short-term fix, and I don't blame him. Everybody's saying, "Oh, why would you take him out of the leadership group and all that stuff?" Russell Martin just has to work with the players he has. He has to look. He can't think, "Oh, well, Kieran Dowell might leave here in 2 months' time. I better not play him." He just has to look. The 15, 16 players, senior players he's got there, a guy that's played at a good level, let's just put him in. But I never ever felt that it was going to be. And we spoke as well about his starting point with the Rangers fans, who can almost see, probably unfairly, Kieran Dowell as a symbol of reigns that never really worked. Russell Martin put him into the team. I think there weren't many options because guys were getting up to fitness. I think you see now that Antman, as soon as he was signed, straight in, he's clearly done a pre-season. Gassama's now up to speed, he's starting games. Mikey Mo will be the same. So yeah, I'd be amazed if Kieran Dowell's still a Rangers player by the 1st of September.
Now, I've got one last name to mention. I'm just double checking that's definitely the name that's written down here, and it's Dele Alli. Now, first and foremost, there's not been an actual link between Rangers and Dele Alli here. This all started because Ali McCoy said, I think at the end of 2024, Rangers would be the perfect place for him to rekindle his career. It came up again on the radio this week. Ali wasn't there this time. And I think Jeff Stelling was also saying, yeah, it'd be a great place for him to go. So now it's kind of grown arms and legs, and people are thinking Dele Alli might be going to Rangers. But I think we can safely say this is one that's not going to happen.
So you've got Super Ali recommending Dele Alli? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that.
Dele Alli's one of those players, you always say his 2 names, you never ever just say Ali. It's always Dele Alli. I don't think so. I mean, what a player he was in his prime. And look, he said he's the hard time, and you wish him all the best and hope that he does somehow resurrect his career. It's not really happened, and he's gone to Italy and stuff like that. So, look, great talent. I just don't think it's something Rangers would pursue at this moment in time, no matter what Ali McCoy recommends.
It's been 5 years since they'd sort of a last regular season of football as well, and even just that alone, that's not the sort of profile or form Rangers are going for.
No, and you always, I suppose there's always that one thing a manager might think, but I can get him back to what he was, and he was world class at one point, clearly, but that amount of time, he's had injuries, he's had issues, and I think too, the amount of training you miss in that, and the conditioning work and everything like that, and to get back to be, speaking about robust footballers having to go, I mean, Rangers, you can't, no, I just don't see it. I think it's a non-starter.
I'll see if we can back in here in 5 minutes. We go out and Dele Alli sign for Rangers, but thanks as ever, David.
Yeah, and has Connor Cody signed yet?
Oh, fancy that, he's gone to Wrexham.
He's Connor Cody, seems a nice guy. He's been a star of the transfer window right from the start. But we wish him all the best with Ryan Reynolds and all the rest.
I think still get his wee picture on the image for this. Just
one
last time. Find a way to mention him next week. Why not? Let's try it. See if we can get him into the Celtic one on Friday.
Exactly.
Cheers, David. As I've just mentioned there, the Celtic transfer special will be here on Friday. The next Rangers one will be like this week, up next Wednesday, due to Rangers playing Europe on the Tuesday night. Don't forget, Go Ballistic is back with Chris Boyd on Monday. If you want to get your views into Chris, go ballistic at thesun.co.uk. We'll pick that up there and put your questions to Chris. Until then, see you then.